I hurriedly packed my big handbag. Inside, I placed a pair of jeans, 2 body tops, and a black blouse. I added a container of lotion, my perfume, roll-on, and my makeup kit, just in case I needed it. Funerals these days could be unpredictable, so the makeup might come in handy. I put the bag in the back seat of my car and walked back inside. I had forgotten to pack shoes. I picked a pair of pumps and slippers. "You are going for 2 days only, Yvonne," I scolded myself as I checked around the house. I sighed when I remembered to carry something to cover myself with in the night. My auntie might not have enough bedding to share, and I did not want to squeeze in with others if it got cold. "Well, that's it," I murmured, looking in the mirror. I wore a black body top with black leggings and planned to throw on my chitenge when I reached Kumasi. My hair was wrapped in a grey headscarf. Locking the door, I got into my car and started the engine. My name is Yvonne. I am 26 years old, single, and a banker at Let's Save in Accra. I received a call the previous day that my auntie's brother had died. Though she was my uncle's ex-wife, I grew up close to her. It mattered little that she and my uncle were separated. I needed to be there for her. I knew the man who died. He visited occasionally. His wife was kind and skilled in hair plaiting. I often went to her before finishing school. Driving out of Makeni Villa, I joined Accra Road. It was 7 a.m. Being Saturday, the road was not congested. I increased my speed, letting the music from my car soothe me. Then his voice echoed in my mind. "It's not what you think, babe." That was Daniel, my ex-boyfriend, my perfect boyfriend. I thought we would settle down, even though I never truly loved him. But he betrayed me, with Beatrice, my best friend. I had faked illness to get days off work so I could surprise him. Instead, I opened my door to see Daniel and Beatrice entangled on my couch. "What the hell?" I shouted. They scrambled up. Daniel tried to explain, but I cut him off. I ordered them out of my house. My heart broke as tears rolled down my face. I threw his belongings at him and told Beatrice she would one day taste the pain she caused me. A honk behind me snapped me back to reality. I hadn't noticed the light had turned green. I whispered, "They are not worth my tears." It had been 3 months since the betrayal. I was moving on. 2 hours later, I reached Kumasi. Wrapping my chitenge, I stepped out at the funeral house. My auntie wailed as she welcomed me. I joined in the mourning. That night, drunk men sang funeral songs for Jollof. I sat outside with my auntie. My eyes caught a man covered in PF-labeled cloth, eating silently near the men's fire. "Who is he?" I asked. "He is a madman," my auntie explained. "He never leaves a funeral until the burial." I sighed and went to sleep, but his blurred image lingered in my mind until sleep carried me away. In the morning, I kept my eyes on him. He was so quiet and peaceful, it pricked my heart. How can a man so handsome, with a long light face and a pointed nose, be mad? I asked myself, as I folded my hands and sat facing him. He was slowly eating his morning jollof, and my eyes went down to his hands. His long, clean nails caught my attention. He gently rolled the lump of jollof in his palms, almost like a perfectionist. Even in his state, his skin tone showed that he still bathed. If not for the extra clothes and pieces of chitenge wrapped around him, one would think he was fine. "Yvonne!" my cousin called. "We better start off now, the buses are here." "Of course, I will use my car. Let Auntie and the other 3 elders join me," I replied, adjusting my kiteng. I sighed and glanced back at the man before walking to the car. At the graveside, as the casket was lowered, thoughts of my late parents filled my mind. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I had grown up in different homes after their death, and funerals always reminded me of them. A man prayed, saying, "The Lord has given, and now he has taken. Let us pray the soul of our brother rest in God's hands." Flowers were laid, and soon it was all over. I planned to return to Accra because Monday was a working day. After lunch, I packed my things and waited. I looked for the madman, but he was gone. "Has that man left?" I asked my auntie. She laughed. "That man must have affected you." "I know," I shrugged. "It feels like I knew him before." "He has moved to the back," she said. I felt relieved. "Does anyone know who he is?" I asked. "Rumor has it, he went to the university and worked here in Kumasi. People say he came from Koforidua. They even say he slept with a widow," my auntie replied. "What's his name?" I pressed. "Bro Joel. But many call him Bro Jollof because of the amount of jollof he eats," she chuckled. Before leaving, I walked to the back. He was seated quietly, dozing. My cousin stood with me. I looked at him from his torn shoes to his face. His black beard was silky, his mouth well-shaped, his eyes calm. "He's so perfect," I whispered. "What?" my cousin teased. I said I pity him. I lied quickly. "What's your name?" I asked the man. To my surprise, he raised his eyes and smiled. "My name is Joel," he said in perfect English, with a soft laugh. My heart skipped. I composed myself and walked away. Later, driving back, I could not stop thinking about him. At home, I scolded myself in the mirror, frustrated by how much he filled my thoughts. To distract myself, I called my friend Eric. "Hey, are you free this evening?" I asked. "Provided you pay the bill," he laughed. We agreed to meet at West Hills Mall. I dressed simply and drove off. Eric teased me as usual when he saw me. Over pizza, he asked about the funeral. "It was good, quiet, captivating," I said. He grinned. "You met someone, I can tell." I denied it, but inside I knew the truth. The man on my mind was Joel, the so-called madman. I paced around my sitting room. I could not sit down. I had come up with an idea, and the very thought of it made my heart race. I patted my thighs directly on my skin. I wore a very short, tight black indoor shirt. "Come on." I shook my head, trying to push the thought away. It had been a month since I traveled to Kumasi, but I never stopped thinking about Joel. I no longer referred to him as a madman. In my mind, I created a fantasy of him being normal. The thoughts of Joel drove me constantly. I had called my auntie the previous day. She told me her neighbor and friend had passed away. Strangely, I felt excited. I knew going to the funeral of a person I did not know was absurd. But I remembered Auntie saying, "He goes round settling wherever there is a funeral." An idea came into my head, and I was scared by it. I knew people would think I was mad if I carried it out, but before I could change my mind, I walked to my bedroom and grabbed my handbag. I was going to travel to Kumasi. The past month at work had been hectic. It is better to act than live with these thoughts, I told myself as I pulled my car out of the yard. "Auntie, I am on my way, but will leave tonight. I want to bring the money for Carol. She has been pestering me. I have missed you too," I told her on the phone. "You surprised me, Yvonne. I thought you would come after 6 months," she said. "Well, I guess I have heard enough counsel from elders," I teased and accelerated. By the time I reached Kumasi, it was past 2 p.m. I passed through ShopRite and bought groceries. I had just received my salary with a bonus, so I could spend something on family. The welcome was warm. After chatting, I asked Auntie if we could go to the funeral house. My real reason was to check on Joel, but I said nothing about him. When we arrived, I almost jumped with joy. Joel was there, seated quietly in the corner, covered in his usual load of clothes. I tried to stay calm, but my plans stayed in my head. At 6 p.m., I excused myself, saying I had to go back to Kumasi. I drove away, parked at ShopRite, and called the taxi driver I had booked. "What's your name?" I asked. "Bongo," he replied. "I need you to help me. I will pay you well," I said. I explained I wanted him to bring a man who was not well from the funeral house for $200. He hesitated but finally agreed. I waited anxiously. After 10 minutes, I saw him returning, Joel walking slowly behind him. The driver opened the back door and Joel entered. I paid the driver and transferred Joel into my own car. He murmured and grew louder. I gave him a dose of sedation I had prepared. He calmed, and I laid him down in the back seat. I removed his kitenge covers, leaving him in a loose t-shirt. I put the covers in the trunk and drove out of town. I did not know what I would do next, but I took him with me. "Joel, hey," I patted his hand. We had arrived at my house at 9:30. For some reason, I had taken my time driving back home. Joel shifted slightly in the seat. "Come inside," I said calmly, pulling his hand. His eyes looked weak, and I knew the sedative was still working. I helped him stand, led him inside, and left him seated on the couch. The first thing I did was cook some jollof for him. I warmed leftover chicken and vegetables from the refrigerator. When I placed the food in front of him, his expression changed. He smiled faintly. He was about to start eating without washing his hands, but I stopped him. "From now on, you wash your hands before eating," I instructed. I watched in silence as he ate. He chewed softly and neatly, taking his time. He finished the plate of jollof I had served. "Come on now, you need to wash your hands," I said, holding his hands in a basin. "Who are you?" he whispered softly as I poured water from a jar. "My name is Yvonne," I said with a smile. "I am your friend, Joel. I will take good care of you. I believe you can be more than this." He stared at me without speaking, then suddenly burst into laughter. I froze and stared back. Realizing his condition, I sat down sadly, tears filling my eyes. "What was I thinking?" I whispered. "How am I going to live with him in my house? He is a stranger, and worse, he is not well." My thoughts made me cry. "I want water," Joel shouted suddenly. "Of course," I said, wiping my tears. He pointed at the container. "A container it is," I laughed softly. He gulped the water quickly, drinking half the bottle in an instant. I turned on the TV. He looked at the screen but seemed not to understand. I watched Coming to America until I noticed Joel had dozed off. I patted his leg to wake him for bed, but he sat up abruptly and pushed my hand away. His expression turned angry, though he said nothing. Fear struck me, but I let him lie back down. I covered him with a blanket, turned off the lamp, and whispered, "God, help us both." Then I went to my room and locked the door. The next morning, I found him still asleep. I gave him another sedative, and with effort dragged him to the bathroom. I filled the tub with warm water and began washing him. His skin was smooth and light beneath the dirt. I cut his hair, shaved his armpits and private parts, then washed him again. Clean and fresh, he looked transformed. I rubbed lotion on his body and dressed him in my oversized t-shirt and track bottoms. I sat him on the couch and took a few photos for evidence. Then I served him food again. By the time I returned from my own bath, Joel was asleep on the couch, his hands still stiff. I washed his hands and whispered, "One day we will work on this." The ringing of my phone brought me up, and I quickly picked it. "Hey girlie," Eric responded immediately. "Yes, man, what's up?" I sighed, placing the dishes in the sink. "What time are you coming?" he asked. "Coming?" I inquired, surprised. "Yes, coming." "Don't tell me you have forgotten today is my birthday. I'm having a party this evening," he shouted, clearly disappointed. "I was just kidding, silly. How can I forget?" I lied, thrusting my fingers through my hair. "I'm coming definitely," I added, glancing at Joel and wondering how I was going to do it. Leaving him alone in the house didn't feel safe. I thought of taking him to China, but I had no explanation to give them. The truth was worse. I had kidnapped him. I sighed after cutting Eric's call. Then I remembered my old friend Helen, who worked at Eastern Hospital. We were not on good terms, but she was my only hope. If I can go now, then pass through Manda Hill for Eric's gift. I'll make it back in time, I said to myself, grabbing my handbag. Before leaving, I gave Joel another sedative. I placed Joel on the table beside him and locked the door behind me. "What a surprise," Helen exclaimed when she saw me. "Yes, I know. It's been years," I said, pretending to be happy to see her. "How is the man you grabbed from me?" she asked sarcastically, referring to Daniel. That was the main reason we were no longer friends. "Well, you were saved the heartache. Daniel is not worth it," I replied calmly. "Anyway, what do you want?" she asked. "I need your help," I admitted. "My friend is not well. They say he is developing a mental problem." "So? Bring him to the hospital. The doctors will diagnose him," she said quickly. "That's the problem. His family won't let him out. Please, can you just help me with the medication? I will give it to him every day," I begged. "No, it doesn't work like that. Each patient needs different medicine. If you want to help him, bring him here," she said firmly. "Please," I begged again, but she shook her head. "I'm sorry, Yvonne," she said, and stood up to leave. I cursed under my breath, but kept calm. When she left her office door slightly open, I slipped back inside. My hands trembled as I opened her cabinet and grabbed a handful of medicines, 3 of each type. I stuffed them into my bag and left quickly. At Manda Hill, I bought Eric a gift and also bought clothes and lotion for Joel. Back home, Joel was still asleep. I searched online for the medicines and settled on antidepressants, Buspar, some antipsychotics, and Valium. Later that evening, I hugged Eric at his party. "Happy birthday, buddy." After some time, I grew bored and decided to leave. When I got home, the living room was dark. Switching on the light, I found Joel standing in the corner, staring blankly. "It's so dark," he said, shivering. "It's okay, I'm here now," I said, pulling him to the couch. Over the next week, the drugs kept him calm. He stayed where I left him, and I always made sure to leave food. He loved jollof and chicken. He looked cleaner and better each day in the clothes I bought him. One day, I found him looking out the window. "Hey, Joel," I called. He turned and smiled faintly. "How are you feeling?" I asked. "Sad," he whispered. I leaned my head on his chest. "I know, but I can't let you outside. What I feel here," I placed his hand on my heart, "gives me hope, Joel." He smiled his usual silly smile, and I held on to it. "I don't know what to do, Joel. I can't tell anyone about you. My family and friends would crucify me for what I have done. I have refused any visits to my home because I can't risk people seeing you here." I spoke almost to myself as he stared at me. "But I feel it here," I said, holding his hand to my heart. "What I feel here gives me hope, Joel. And I know one day I will prove to the world that love is beyond reason and boundaries." I wiped the tears from my cheeks. He smiled, his usual silly smile. "Come here now." I pulled his hand and led him to the living room. I sat closer to him, inhaling the Rasai perfume I bought him. I smiled when he leaned his head on me, though clumsily. I adjusted him and made him place his head on my lap. John Legend's All of Me played softly from the speakers. I rubbed his face gently as he kept his eyes on the TV screen, which I had muted. I let the song repeat for hours until I dozed off. When I woke up, it was close to 8 p.m. Joel was still on my lap, playing with his fingers. "You hungry?" I asked. "Jollof," he whispered. I stood up quickly. "I know, supper is late," I dozed off. Just then, my elder brother called. "What? No, you can't," I shouted. He wanted to visit and stay for the week. I explained that I had a workshop in East Legon and would not be home. I told him to lodge at Auntie's in Jamestown. He sighed, disappointed, but agreed. I felt relieved. My brother was very controlling, and I couldn't risk him finding Joel in the house. The room he used to sleep in was now Joel's. Living with Joel for over 4 weeks was becoming better. The drugs had finished, but now I knew the names. I bought them at a chemist, though they cost me $1,000. Joel gained weight and looked better every day. One weekend, I noticed he had not left his room. I slid into his bed beside him. His warm body touched mine. He opened his eyes and glanced at me. "Hey!" I smiled, hoping he would respond. He was quiet. Suddenly, I felt something hard rub against my thigh. "Oh, Joel," I laughed softly, realizing he was not wearing clothes. He turned and smiled faintly. "What?" I asked, staring into his white eyes. "Don't tell me you can also feel this way," I teased. I touched his thigh, and he winced slightly, making me giggle. When I tried to stop, he surprised me by rubbing his hand on me. "Oh, Joel," I gasped. I tried to hold his hand, but he pinned me down. I shouted for him to stop, but he pressed harder, leaving me powerless. Moments later, he lay motionless on me, breathing heavily. I pushed him aside and he fell fast asleep. I sat in the bathtub afterward, replaying what had happened. He surely had the strength of a man, and I could not ignore what I had just experienced. Still, guilt washed over me. I had not planned for it to happen. The next morning, after a long bath, I sat watching TV when an advert caught my attention. There will be 21 days of prayer and deliverance at Chelstone Parish. "This is it," I whispered. I called Father Lumba and explained part of my situation. He asked me to meet him the next day after Mass. After Mass, I told him everything. He prayed for me and encouraged me to bring Joel the next day. When the prayers began, the priest asked if I believed in God's power. "Yes, Father, I believe," I answered with tears. As we prayed, Joel pushed me away violently, then fell shaking and foaming. The priest anointed him, casting out demons. Moments later, Joel fell silent. "Joel!" I called, shaking him. He sat up, looking normal and confused. "Who are you people? Where am I?" he asked. "My name is Joel," he continued. "I am CEO of BK Motor and Equipment Suppliers in Kumasi. My family is in Kumasi. I have a wife and a 1-year-old son." My knees went weak as he spoke. "Yeah," I pushed a smile. "Do you know what year this is?" the priest asked Joel. "Yes, this is Sunday, the 14th of March, 2012, he answered confidently. We both looked at each other, and the priest shook his head. "The enemy kept you in bondage for over 2 years, Joel. Today is Saturday, the 31st of January, 2015. "What?" Joel asked, now realizing my story was true. "I'm sorry, son, but this woman is telling the truth. You were cast with a mental illness for 2 years. If not for her sacrifice, you could still be lost," the priest explained. Joel bowed his head. The priest continued counseling him. For more than 2 hours, we stayed locked in the room. Later, he encouraged me to let Joel decide his next steps. We drove home in silence. He kept his eyes on the road while I stole glances at him. "This is my house. You stayed here for almost 2 months," I told him as we entered. He looked around the sitting room quietly. I led him to the spare bedroom. "This is where you were sleeping," I said. He sighed, sitting on the bed. "So why did you bring me here?" "Like you said, I wasn't myself. Why did you take such a risk? We never knew each other." I cleared my throat. "Honestly, Joel, I don't know. I saw you at the funeral, sitting quietly." I showed him photos I had taken before I bathed him. He shook his head in disbelief. Tears rolled down his cheeks as I showed him the clothes and covers he once wore. "I have lost more than 2 years of my life. I don't know where to start. I don't even know how to repay you. I am grateful," he said softly. But his stare was different. Gone was the passion, the gentleness. He looked at me like a stranger. It hurt. After some time, he asked if I could take him to his house in Foxdale. My heart sank. "Of course I will drive you there," I said. "It's late. Let me go alone," he suggested. "No, it's almost 10 p.m. Let me drive you. I need to know you are safe," I insisted. It was the most painful drive of my life. I hooted at the gate. A teenage boy shouted, "Uncle Joel," and hugged him tightly. Inside, a tall, slim woman appeared. Joel shouted, "Honey," and hugged her. But she looked shocked and disappointed. "Where have you been?" she asked, glancing at me. "It's a long story. Where is our boy?" Joel asked. "I must leave now," I said, uncomfortable. "Meet Yvonne. She saved my life," Joel introduced me. She looked me up and down. I said goodbye quickly and left. At home, I cried myself to sleep. Joel's point of view. Seeing myself in those pictures was unbelievable. Yvonne had risked everything for me. She was a stranger, but she saved me. At home, I asked my wife Clara what happened. She seemed tense, playing with her phone. "You were gone for over 2 years, Joel. You expect me to jump with joy just because you came back with some woman," she said coldly. Her words stung, and I began to remember the days before everything went dark. Flashback. "Hey, honey, I am looking at the accounts Charles sent from Lusaka. What is going on?" "A lot of money is missing," I asked Clara on the phone as I sat in my office. "What are you insinuating, Joel? I am your wife and the accountant of this company. Why are you accusing me of wasting money?" she shouted. "You are wrong, Clara. I am only asking because Charles raised a genuine complaint. The business is going down in just a few months." I tried to reason, but she went on shouting and accusing me of calling her a thief. Our marriage was rosy in the beginning. Clara was sweet, and I thought I had found the woman of my dreams. But things changed after she gave birth to our son, Junior Joel. She became moody, and some people at the company spread rumors of her having an affair. I chose not to believe them. A month later, Charles called again. He said the company was going into liquidation. I traveled to Accra to confront Clara. She had refused to move to Kumasi, saying it was boring. I traveled every weekend to see her and our son. She responded coldly, making me wonder if the rumors of her using money for another man were true. That week, we fought bitterly. A few days later, I got a disturbing call. "Sir, your wife is lodging at Cresta View Hotel with a man. Come see for yourself." The caller hung up. Moments later, the same voice called again, giving me the hotel's name. I drove to Accra, passed home first, and found her nephew and my son with the maid. Clara was not home. I rushed to Cresta View. I waited until I saw her jeep drive in. She came out with a tall, dark man I didn't recognize. My blood boiled as I saw them laughing, holding hands. I walked up and blocked the door as they entered a room. "What is the meaning of this, Clara?" I asked. "Joel, what are you doing here?" she asked, shocked. "So the rumors were true all this time," I said, walking away. At home, I broke a few items in anger. She came back later, watching me silently. "I want you out of my house," I yelled. "Don't insult me, Joel. Do what you want, I don't care," she shrugged. I slapped her. "You are not man enough for me. I told you Henry was the man I loved, and he always will be," she screamed. I shouted back, accusing her of using me for money. She mocked me, and I left the house in rage. From that point, everything went blank, until I woke up in a parish with Yvonne, present. "Oh my God," I held my head. "Clara, was this your doing?" I shouted. She smiled wickedly. "Who will believe you, Joel? Everyone thinks you went mad because of rituals." Her nephew later told me She had been bringing men to the house and had taken my son to my mother. My company was gone. The house changed. "Oh God, help me," I whispered, shattered. Yvonne's point of view. Days passed without hearing from Joel. I kept walking to his room, hoping to see him seated on the bed. The scent of his perfume from the bedding and clothes made me miss him more. I could not get myself to forget him. It hurt that he had not shown up for days. I wished he would at least come back. The urge to go and see him was strong, but every time I remembered the look on his wife's face, I felt terrified. There was something dark about her, and her gaze scared me. I decided to see the priest and told him how I was feeling. He smiled and held my hand. "You are not crazy. You love him genuinely, and it is normal that you miss him after staying with him all this time. But I would not want you hurt. He cannot leave his wife. Remember, marriage is blessed and ordained by God. No man should come between such a union," he said. "I know, Father, but I cannot stop wishing he was mine. I loved him in his madness, and I still love him now. It hurts to see him walk away after everything," I said sadly. "Take heart, my child. God has a purpose for everything. Continue putting Joel in your prayers. I feel his life is in danger. Stand in the gap for him. Remember, when you help someone once, they become your responsibility," he told me. I trusted his words, though it was hard to ignore my feelings. I tried to keep away. Later, Eric visited me. "Hey," I sighed, hugging him. "What's going on, Yvonne? You have been crying," he asked. I could not control myself. He hugged me and let me cry. "Tell me what happened, my girl. I am your friend," he said. I explained everything. He looked at me like I was crazy. "Are you nuts? You have been hosting a madman in this house all these weeks," he scolded. "I know it sounds crazy, but I fell in love with him. Now that he has recovered, it turns out he is a married man," I said. Eric shook his head. "No wonder you were acting strange. Here I thought you were upset with me because of the girl at the party. Meanwhile, something big was happening here." I told him all my feelings. "You can't blame him. He is a man. Now he is back with his wife. You used yourself for nothing," he spat. "Stop it, Eric. I won't take that. I fell in love and I don't care what you call me. I must go and see him," I said. "Oh no, you won't. Let him come to you," Eric pushed back. "No, something is wrong with him. He needs me," I insisted. We argued for an hour. Finally, he warned me. "Be careful, Yvonne. This won't end well." I changed into a pencil skirt, a sleeved top, and a jacket. I wore heels and left. As I drove to Joel's address, I heard Eric's voice in my head. "He's a married man." But I said to myself, "No, he needs me." At the gate, I asked, "Is Joel home?" The boy was still answering when Joel appeared. "Yvonne," he called out, glad to see me. "Joel, how are you?" I asked. "I am glad you came. Let's get out of here, please," he begged. His wife stood by the window upstairs, staring at us with the same strange look. "Where do you want to go?" I asked as I started the car. "To your house if you don't mind," he whispered. I drove in silence. He looked at me and smiled. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" I asked. "For everything." At my house, he drank some water and asked, "How was I like?" "You were never violent. You ate a lot of jollof and oranges. I bathed you every day," I told him. He laughed slightly, then began to cry. "I believe my wife was behind my illness. She took my companies, turned the house into a playground for her lovers, and left me with nothing. I cannot even find my mother. My life is shattered," he sobbed. I held him as he cried. "It's okay, be strong," I whispered. "Can I stay here today?" he begged. "Of course, as long as you want," I said. That evening, I cooked jollof with chicken. I watched him eat slowly, smiling. Later we searched for his family, but the house was sold. He was heartbroken. Back home, he asked to sleep. As I walked away, he called, "Yvonne, can you stay? I am scared to sleep alone." I lay beside him. He smiled. "You are so beautiful." "Thank you," I said. Soon he closed his eyes and slept peacefully. I whispered a prayer for him and closed my eyes too. Flashback, Clara point of view. Clara could not understand why Joel kept insisting on marrying her. She had told him at first that she was not interested, but he refused to let go. Joel was just a man she agreed to date, because she was hurting. She had a big fight with Henry, the man she loved, months before meeting Joel. They met at a friend's party, where she had followed her friend Mercy. Joel had approached her. "Hey, I like you. Can I have your number?" he asked. "I'm sorry, I am not in the mood to exchange numbers," Clara said. "It's not like I am asking you out. I just want us to be friends," he insisted. Clara thought he was handsome, so she gave him her number. To her surprise, he called her that evening. He was calm and composed, and Clara liked his maturity. Days later, he kept in touch. Clara did not pay much attention until Mercy asked, "Do you know who that guy is?" Clara shrugged. "I don't care. I am not interested. I still love Henry." Mercy laughed. "Dummy. He is the son of the owner of BK Motor and Equipment Suppliers. He is the heir of the famous BK companies. That's your ticket to a good life." From that day, Clara decided to accept Joel's proposal for his money and fame. She was still waiting for Henry, who had started dating another girl, but she hoped he would come back one day. Joel proposed at his birthday party. He stood before everyone and asked for the music to stop. "I want to ask the woman my heart has chosen. Clara, will you marry me?" Clara was shocked. She wanted to say no, but the crowd cheered, and Joel looked so happy. She said yes. Joel put a gold engagement ring on her finger and kissed her. Clara faked a smile. Her family was happy. Her father encouraged her, saying Joel could help her continue her CIMA courses. On her wedding day, Clara thought of Henry. She felt like she was in the wrong place. Joel was excited and loving, but Clara was miserable. He paid for her courses, and in 3 years she finished. Clara later got pregnant by accident. Joel was overjoyed and made her the accountant of his father's company in Accra. When Henry came back into her life, Clara secretly reconnected with him. Together they planned. Henry encouraged her to steal more money so they could start their own business. Things were easier when Joel moved to work in Kumasi. Clara and Henry continued their plans. When Joel discovered she was stealing, and later caught her with Henry, things became bad. Henry suggested they kill Joel. Clara refused, but later came up with another idea. "We should make him go mad," she said. They went to a herbalist, and soon Joel lost his senses. Clara took full control of the company. Joel's mother accused her, but Clara ignored her. Later, Henry cheated on her, and she hired men to kill him. Alone but wealthy, Clara lived freely. She was surprised when Joel returned with Yvonne. Clara acted like a good wife, but inside she was angry. She insulted Joel, brought lovers home, and reminded herself she had the family mansion in her name. Watching Yvonne, she thought the girl was crazy for picking a madman. Clara laughed at them and went back to her life. She loved the power, the meetings, and the money from drug dealers who used her trucks. She walked down the stairs in her silky black dress and shouted, "It's a good day," Yvonne POV. Seeing Joel leave while I was enjoying his closeness made me want to pull him back. I knew I should not feel so close to him. The priest had told us to avoid temptation and stay away from each other. "It's just that you have no place to go for now," the priest said, looking at Joel. "But remember, you are a married man, and you cannot have an intimate relationship outside marriage," he added. Joel defended himself. "Father, my wife declared me dead, and by law she and I are not married anymore." "Of course," the priest answered, "but you got married in church, and the church does not allow you to be with another woman while your wife is alive." Later at home, Joel argued again. "She's not my wife now. God forbid that woman continues being my wife," he said loudly. "Calm down," I told him. "Let God lead the way. I am your friend, and I will always be here for you." He disagreed, but stayed quiet. That afternoon, I spoke to him about getting papers so he could find work. When he suddenly kissed me and said he loved me, I was caught off guard. His kiss was sweet, and I forgot myself. "How do I control myself when he is this sweet?" I murmured after watching him drive away. Months later, I told my brother I was staying with Joel, but I didn't give details. He promised to come later. One weekend, my auntie from Kumasi visited. She came to buy things for her shop. I feared she would recognize Joel. When I told him, he asked if he should hide. "No, you are my guest," I said. "She won't question who I host." "Auntie, welcome," I greeted her when she walked in. Joel stood to greet her. She smiled warmly. "He's so handsome," she whispered to me in the kitchen. "He's not my boyfriend, Auntie," I replied shyly. "Don't lie. I saw how you two look at each other," she challenged me. "It's complicated," I told her, and she dropped the matter. "See, I told you she wouldn't recognize you," I said to Joel. "You don't know how I almost hid inside that couch," he laughed. Living with Joel was exciting. I always looked forward to seeing him after work. One evening, I was dressing when Joel returned. "Yvonne," he called as he entered. "I'm here, wait," I answered, but he opened the door. He froze when he saw me naked. "Oh my God," he exclaimed. "I was about to tell you I was dressing," I stammered, covering myself. "I'll wait outside," he said, pointing at the door. I dressed quickly and joined him. "So how did it go?" I asked. "Yvonne, look at me," he said softly. I tried to avoid his eyes, but he raised my chin. "Tell me I am just your friend, and you don't want me close," he whispered. I lost my strength. I couldn't resist. He showed me the papers and money he had recovered, but I pushed them aside and kissed him. "What took you so long?" he breathed as he held me close. Soon we gave in to each other. Afterwards, he showed me the certificates and money. "This can help me start over," he said, still holding me. "You're crazy," I smiled. "You are the one who picked a madman," he teased, pulling me closer. "Ben, I won't survive another round," I whispered. "Well, since we have money now, they can buy us coffins if we die in each other's arms," he laughed. Joel POV, 5 weeks later. I had decided to open my own garage. Fixing cars was something I loved. The economy was bad, and it was hard to get a good job. Opening a mechanic shop in town was the best idea. Within weeks, I had many customers, and I even hired another man to help. The business started well, thanks to the $50,000 I invested. My old friend Jacob helped me find a building for rent. He was happy to see me alive and well, after the rumors of my madness. The priest also came and blessed my garage before opening. But even with success, I still carried a burden. I needed to find my mother and my son. I had not yet confronted Clara about the company. I wanted to plan first. One afternoon, I came home in my overalls. Yvonne's car was already parked. It was just after 16, and I wondered why she was early. Inside, I found her crying in Eric's arms. "What is wrong, love?" I asked, pulling her to me. Eric glared at me. "If you were man enough, you would have stopped your wife from hurting her," Eric snapped. "Eric, please stop," Yvonne said softly. I turned to Yvonne. "What is going on?" She wiped her tears. "Clara has been coming to my workplace. Today was the 3rd time." I was shocked. "What for?" "She embarrasses me in public. Today she announced that I kidnapped a madman. She told people I was desperate and could not find a man of my own." I clenched my fists. "That witch! Why is she doing this?" "She knows you are rebuilding your life. She wanted you mad and useless. Now that you are standing again, she feels threatened," Yvonne said, still crying. "That is not all," she added. "My manager put me on forced leave. She said Clara's behavior is affecting the bank's image." I pulled her close. "No, Yvonne, I will not let that woman destroy you like she destroyed me. Enough is enough." Yvonne kissed me before I could continue. "The priest told us our battle is spiritual. We need to pray," she whispered. I sighed and held her. She leaned on my lap, playing with my fingers like she always did. Later that evening, my phone beeped. Jacob texted me, "Check all media." Yvonne handed me her phone. Clara had published our photos on social media, my old photos during madness, and Yvonne's too. The story said she used charms to trap me, but things went wrong and she kidnapped me. I held Yvonne as she wept. "This is it. Clara will pay for this," I whispered. Clara POV. Joel was not supposed to be happy with Yvonne. His portion was to suffer. I poured myself wine, angry. I called Carter, my right-hand man. "I want you to follow Joel. Find out everything about that woman. Get her photos and information," I instructed. "Consider it done," he replied. I smiled. Soon my plan worked. All media posted the story with photos. People called Yvonne a witch and insulted her. I laughed in victory. Later I took a bath waiting for my toy man John. When he came, we were together in the tub when suddenly the door burst open. Joel stood there furious. "You witch," he shouted. "This is my house," I screamed back. He picked up the hairdryer and threatened to throw it into the water. I screamed and rushed out, naked. Joel dragged me and shouted, "Why are you doing this to innocent people? Why those lies on social media?" I laughed and told him boldly, "I made you mad once, and I can do worse. If Yvonne stands in my way, I will kill her." I looked into his eyes and used my charms. His anger weakened. Smiling, I pulled him to the bed. "Now give me what I want," I whispered, undressing him as he followed like a child. "Joel, make love to me like you did when we first got married," Clara whispered, kissing his lips as he stared at her. "I know you are good in bed." That's the only thing I enjoyed from that filthy marriage to you anyway." She laughed, pulling him down and placing herself on top of him. And that's where today's chapter comes to a close. Yvonne, Joel, and Clara's tangled story is far from over, and the battle between love, betrayal, and hidden secrets is only getting deeper. What will happen next? Will Joel finally break free from Clara's grip? Or will Yvonne's sacrifice bring her more pain than she imagined? If you enjoyed this part, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and stay tuned for the next chapter. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.